Okay, well, I don't know. So, there's just some of these videos, some of it's kind of frustrating because I get tired of like legitimately having the same conversations over and over. But then it feels like people don't understand that like they're just the point isn't going home. Now they're forcing me to drink, I swear. It's like it's so frustrating. I'm not gonna respond to every single comment, but what I will do is make a longer video. Hopefully this explains some stuff. So everyone wanted to comment on this, just like the other one. Maybe I should make I could dedicate this entire channel to simply responding to comments that are all about like race. Like it's always fucking about race. Like why does my channel have to be the one that's always fucking about race? It's always me. And I feel like it's because I've lived this like nuanced experience. Like, yeah, I'm not an impoverished Black person, and I never really have been. There definitely have been times where I was personally exploited. So like literal investments that I made just did not work out well because I included other people. But every single time I put myself first, all of my investments worked out well and nothing has like gone too wrong. Anyway, so we're just gonna go kind of comment by comment because there's a lot of them. It looks like this top one though is kind of where there's a lot of replies. So there's a guy who responded, colored in South Africa per se just means she's mixed and doesn't mean she isn't Black. Here's what I have to say to this. So this is kind of a continuation of like this Tyla conversation. It's more about race and ethnicity and culture than it is about Tyla specifically. I think some people are using Tyla as an example right now. I think it's mostly because the dichotomies have come very far in terms of like in America, pretty much everyone who associates, it could be also, we gotta be serious. Like there's a lot of globalization in America, but America kind of is, it's like America first. It's like it's a very nationalist place. So we don't really know that much about cultures outside. So in America specifically, when people are talking about Africa, they're thinking about Black people. So it's like Africa and Black go together. So even though you can be African and not be Black, typically that's not the way that the correlation happens generally with most people, to be clear. Anyway, so this comment, the reason this comment kind of misses the point is because being a mixed race person simply means that your parents are multiracial. So as in like you could have one parent who is of one race, like Asian, and another parent who is of another race, like white. That person is multiracial or mixed race, right? Okay, so like what, in this case, the person is multiracial, like, but they're not Black, right? But let's say that you have a parent who is a Black Nigerian and then in a Chinese Asian. Is that person going to be considered Black? Yes, because the primary race in this relationship is Black because the Black genes are a bit stronger, and that's just kind of usually how it plays out. So phenotypically, and this is kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about race, it's mostly about phenotype, like how people look. The person will typically like look more Black, whatever that means, than they will Asian, and that's kind of hard as well, especially in this conversation around Tyla. And I'll kind of introduce this idea here because some people keep saying, well, Tyla is actually Indian, she looks more Indian. Now, Indian is a very broad term, specifically in America, because we have something known as like Native Americans, which some people also term Indians. Those are different Indians than Indians from the country of India, which is in Asia. And the people who are Indian from Asia are a part of the Asian, Asian is a racial group. The racial group is called Asian. There are different ethnicities under that Asian group, like or maybe they're more like nationalities, like Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Hmong, or whatever. Like there's kind of different cultural groups and ethnicities. Like even among Indian, I was looking this up, there's like a bunch of different ethnicities, like Hindi, Mumbai or something. Mumbai I think is a place, but there's like a whole bunch of different ethnicities even amongst Indian, right? So it's not just as simple as saying like Asian, but when you, in your mind, when you think of a person who is phenotypically Asian, you're probably thinking of a Chinese or Japanese person, because in mainstream media, very pale-skinned Asian people are pushed to the forefront, and this is like what we know as the group. Even though there's like a fuck ton of like Asian cultures and ethnicities that are not just Chinese or Japanese and don't really have anything to do with them, but they are also on the continent of Asia. Because Asia is a large continent, very populous, and India specifically is very populous, even though it is more poor than the others. It is also more black than the others, but so we'd have to go back for a second to make that second distinction. Indian is not a race. Black is the race. And then when we're specifically talking about black in those books that define racial groups, Ethiopian is like the black one that they always use to represent a majority of black countries, but we know what we're talking about here, right? Not the point. So if we keep going here, so like what the fuck does this still have to do with her? Like, why is this guy wrong with this comment that says colored in South Africa means she is mixed, doesn't mean she isn't black? What is a black American? Especially like what is a black American in relation to a continental African who is a pure blood? So a pure blood continental African means that that person has two parents who are born and raised in Africa. They have like tribal African roots, and most likely are like black, though there are northern African countries that are typically considered Arab, but I don't think Arab is a racial group. It is like it's like an ethnicity. That's a whole thing. Britain colonized a lot of the world, and I think people they forget like how that works. Like Britain for a very long time had this dominant rule, and Britain and Europe, the UK, like it's kind of split up now, and there's all these like names for it, but it's basically like white people who had a lot of capital and capitalism like went around the globe, not just like what we know now as North America, but the fucking globe, and they like took land, they took women, they created new like race, all these like mixed race people were created by like white men with money taking women from other groups, all the other groups, and legitimately starting new races, starting new economies. That's how it works. So everyone here is like having all these conversations about like this and that, this and oh, we are this and we are that, as though they like themselves made up the group or the race or the thing being identified, when the reality is you're just like a subgroup of either black or white. You're like some mix of that. That's kind of, or it could be like Asian and one of them, right? Which is, I think like Indian is just like, I think Asian and black, but that, ugh. If I'm so wrong, somebody correct me, but I don't think I'm that wrong. Like I fully think I'm right here. It's kind of like another thing that's a little bit funny about, not to be like super racist or anything, but it's kind of the funny thing about like Latin America, which is just fucking strange. Like I made content about this before. They have like this mestizo chart that is just like, it's like a colorism chart that basically shows like the lighter you are, the better chances in life you will have, and the blacker you are, the worse your life chances will be. So that's like the whole point of this chart, right? But in reality, I feel like I'm starting to learn a little bit more about like Spaniards, which are supposedly just like basically like white Spanish speaking people, but there is no racial group that is like, Hispanic is not a racial group. It's never been a racial, like Spanish is definitely a language that is, you know, a lot of people in the world speak Spanish, but it's not a racial group. And a lot of the cultures that have like come out of Spanish speaking countries, specifically when a person is not like very clearly like British, like German or Irish or something that's like very European, it's all about poverty politics. And what I mean by that is like cultures have come up about how poor people who have lived under colonial rule, like it could be a white British person who speaks Spanish, right? Who basically had all the money, and then they like just took shit from everybody else, and everybody else had to figure out like how to live in society now that those people over there who are white had all the shit. That's the whole culture. Like, we eat beans and rice because all we can afford is beans and rice. That's the culture. That's poverty. That's not that. Welcome to Poverty 101. Global Poverty 101. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just not really something to be proud of. And that when you're an American, that shit becomes so clear because you're already around it's a globalized world here where like everyone's from somewhere else, and go understand the meaning of the terms. That's like one of the reasons I appreciate growing up in California specifically, like, and having I attended a public university, so I went to like UC Davis. It's like a public university, the University of California. It's a public university, and you just learn a lot. Just go to the fucking public school. Good public schools will teach you so much about society. Because the upper middle class of America spends their money on good public schools and redlining. It's something I feel like I've talked about on this channel a lot, but maybe eventually some people will catch up. Because I feel like most Black people are on the wrong side of that red line. Okay, so then I actually shared this video that I saw last night, which I will put in the description box again. But it was this guy who basically says, like, it is time for us, and he's talking about Black people. So I think it's time for us to actually start vetting our spaces, because we can't just keep letting anyone in. If I want to know how this person racially identifies, because I want to know if I can consciously support them, like if I can feel good about supporting them or not. And someone makes this argument. They were like, yeah, but like. Here's the comment that, so she says, if people are only supporting her because of how she identifies, that is a part of the problem. We have literally spent the past 200 plus years fighting against that way of thinking. I don't agree with that. It's that Martin Luther King quote, I guess, like, it's the treat others how you would like to be treated, but also like judge a person based on their character. Now, I actually want to bring in this concept in this video just to kind of like, how can I say, pull some things together that aren't directly related, but if you stick with me long enough, you might understand why they are. So remember, well, you guys might not have caught this, but I feel like sometimes I call like Ann Coulter my godmother. I so many things I agree with her on. There's some things I don't. Like some things about meritocracy, I'm on the other side of the fence. I just totally disagree. But on a lot of the things, like in terms of immigration, in terms of like policies around race and shit like that, I feel like I agree. And so she was talking with Vivek Ramaswamy, who is this Indian politician in VC. And she was basically saying that she agrees with a lot of his policies and ideas, but she would not vote for him because he's Indian. And this made the rounds of political things, and they were like, this is classic racism, classic racism. oh my God, everyone was supposedly up in arms about this. And like, I think a lot of people missed it, like why that's important and why personally I agree. I wouldn't vote for him either, specifically because he's Indian. And that is because at no point, I have never heard Vivek Ramaswamy criticize the Indian community or hold them accountable in any way for their own like problems in terms of development, poverty, racism, like discrimination, how do you say it, like indecency, anything that's like bad in the community. And it's not like there's not things to talk about. Like there's a lot of shit in the Indian community that's going awfully. It's going so bad that people are like leaving and coming here. It's not like a small number of them. The whole fucking tech industry, like that's a lot of people. So the Indian community specifically, I'm talking about Indian in terms of India, they have a caste system which puts like, they have something called the untouchables. They're at the bottom of the socioeconomic like, how do you say that? The bottom of the like society. Like these people are not able to get married, they can't live anywhere, they can't do anything. And like, it's been like this for like 1,000 years or something. It's like still currently active. And then there are people in my comments right now who are saying like, this person who's a pop star who's coming to America is affiliated with that community. And they're like, yeah, she's like, one of her parents is a part of that community that has a 1,000-year-old caste system that puts Black people specifically at the bottom in this group called the Untouchables. And they're like, I don't understand how it's a problem that she's like the face of our community right now. Nobody's pushing back and nobody has a problem with this. Someone else commented on my video and they said, well, if she sees herself as such an Indian, why doesn't she go into the Bollywood community and do shit there? I have the exact same question. For everyone who believes that Tyla is so Indian and she's so great and she's so Indian and all the Indian girls look up to her, I have not seen one Indian girl come out and be like, I am a Tyla supporter. I look up to her. She is like, I identify with her. No, I haven't heard or seen one. No, not at all. I've seen South African girls come out and be like, she's great, she's this. I think y'all are very confused about like what it means to be an outcast in your own community. Like it is very likely that maybe Tyla actually is very much so a part of the Indian community. She's like an outcast there. And I would just ask, like, why is it that the Black community is now opening its doors for Indian outcasts? Like, when did this become, is the bar that low? Just stop for a second and like, is the bar really that low? Because like, I mean, I like the album. I think that Tyla is a very cute girl. I think that like, the dancing is good, but like this, she's not like the talent of a decade. Like there's like 10 other girls who are out right now who have like a very similar amount of talent to her. A very similar amount of, like she's not something that we have never seen before. I think a lot of people are just looking in the wrong places. The reason why I like talking about her is just simply because she was like a really cute Black girl who was like different from the like same mold of like Blackness that we had seen before. To me, she represented a part of the Black community that we don't, like that is there, that's literally there. Like people always say like Beyonce is this like the only person who is like, you know, lighter skinned or is pretty basically. It's not, I don't even want to say that like lighter skinned is pretty, but it's pretty. There's like so many pretty Black girls. And that's the thing I want to normalize that, like normalize pretty Black girls, including like, I would put Tyla in that category. But it's not like she's like a standalone person, and it's not, and people keep trying to make it as though like the reason that she's pretty is because she's like less Black. And I think that, to me, the things that make her more pretty are the things that make her look more Black. Like when she becomes more brown, to me, she looks prettier. When she has like a bigger afro or afro hairstyle, she looks prettier to me. But I don't know that. Maybe that's just me. So maybe other people are trying to make this point of like, so what the fuck does that have to do with pop music? If you don't like her, pop music specifically is like the one genre that's about having a look. It's about having a story and a personality. Like you need a backstory. That the pop genre, but Britney Spears became Britney Spears because she was that small town girl from wherever she's from in the United States, and other people in the community saw themselves when they saw her. That is what made Britney Spears Britney Spears. What's making Tyla is this like South African colored thing that she has going on. It's like she's like this colored black girl or whatever. I don't know what the proper identifiers are, but to me the proper identifier was like the black African pop girl. To me, that classified her. And when I said that, I got all this backlash. And I was like, oh, if she's not that, then it's not filling any boxes for me. Like, that is a gap that was missing, right? There's like, I personally I'm not saying I don't like Normani. I feel like Normani is a little bit too manufactured for me. There's no distinguishing factor about Normani that makes her like interesting. Or like, she just feels like another pretty like dark skinned black girl, and it's just like I'm so sorry, but like we have already seen Brandy. Brandy completely bodied that. Like she bodied it, packaged it up. And that was from the early 90s. So like I don't need to see that again. I can go listen to old Brandy albums. Brandy has a lot of music. I can go hear that experience. I want something new. To me, Normani wasn't giving it. I don't know. Maybe I can explore her album. Maybe she will give it. I don't know. But when I saw like an Irish Star, I was like, oh shit, she's from like Nigeria. And she's like, now she's got the like, I'm turning 21, I'm out. Or you got Thames, who just comes with all these fucking feelings. Like every song, this bitch is like super in her feeling. She's like, the essence. You're just like, oh my God. It's just like, she's like, I'll wait for you. You're just like, oh my God. Like, you know, like all these girls are coming and they have like different they're like saying different things. They have like different stories, different perspectives. And you just like, I don't know about you, but like, I'm interested. I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. Like, there's a lot of pretty girls out. There's a lot of talented girls out. And the people who are in the comments like, well, if you're just not here for the talent, then just don't be here for the talent. I'm like, I feel like that's exactly what I said. Like, I personally, when I feel like I had learned this from the South African community, I was like, oh, okay, well, so Tyla is not affiliated with the black community. I was like, well, that is my ticket, my personal ticket to walk away. Like, I won't be buying any concert tickets. I'm not streaming any music. And then I heard a little more, and I feel like I heard from her, and she personally was like, now she said it, like, I identify as black. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Okay, then no, like, I'm totally, I'm open to hear what she has to say. But when I feel like I hear someone who comes out and they are like introducing themselves as being a bigot, I'm like, ooh, thank you for letting me know. I needed to know. I'm glad I know. And now I know what to do. And I'm going to go do that. You don't have to feel that way. And I feel like a lot of people don't feel that way. That's okay. Like, I'm not trying to induct anyone else into my like biased point of view. Someone says, you're ignorant. You're ignorant too. I don't know how this is useful in any way. Is that all you can come up with? Do better. And then someone said, like, I thought this comment was interesting. Let's read it out. So, you're literally the first African American I've seen who acknowledges this doubled standard toward mixed people and how xenophobic this backlash toward Tyla is. If South Africans were to dismiss the African American community's cultural context surrounding their interpretation of her identity, the African Americans who are invalidating her would be victimizing in the same way she just accused colored South Africans of having a neo-Nazi identity. I feel like because of how narrow-minded people like the person who made this video are, they just won't ever understand how different cultures are allowed to be that different without being an attack to their own culture. The persistent obsession and bullying over a mixed foreign woman's identity will never cease to disturb me. It reeks of xenophobia, American imperialism, and narcissism. For whatever reason, they believe they have the right to bully her into not acknowledging her Indian and white ancestry because the one-drop rule is being forced onto non-Americans as well now. This is clearly a way of belittling mixed people and foreign Afro-descendants' identities. It is an extremely colonial and imperialistic aspect to it, and I agree that in this scenario, the people coming for Tyla's identity are turning into the very people who have imposed these kinds of racial prejudices onto them, and it's backwards. Okay, that's interesting. I think that a lot of these people, they have no context of American history. And all of this is playing out in America. That's where this could all just end if Tyla just goes back to South Africa and just stays there. Does shows there. All of these people who are supporting her and all these identity markers that we don't understand, then just go there then. Just be there, go there, do your shows there. I feel like this is actually what was happening before. Tyla was in South Africa. She was making music for the South African people who identified with her. And everything was Gucci, nobody cared. All of a sudden though, now she came on the Breakfast Club. That's what you guys are missing. The Breakfast Club is a very Black American space. It's a space that was created out of nothing by those people in New York who literally follow hip hop and pop culture, and their whole job is to talk about hip hop culture all fucking day. That's the job of that particular media outlet. And then people are being upset that the media outlet whose job it is to do that is doing that. You see what I mean? I'm exhausted. They get paid to do that. That's their job. It's their actual job to do that. What? I don't understand. Make it make sense. Nobody is placing xenophobia on Tyla or trying to say that she should not acknowledge her mixed race identity. I personally am not encouraging her to not identify as Indian. I'm not encouraging her to not identify as white. Here is what I would like to say though. The only people here who are validating her Indianness or whiteness are Black people from South Africa who are in my comments trying to make a point. I have never heard any white woman be like, Tyla is one of us. I have never heard it. Never. And I literally tried to have a conversation with my coworkers about this today. They don't even know who she is. They have never heard of any of this. They have heard of Charlemagne, but they don't know who this girl is. The whole drama, nobody even fucking knows what's happening. It is not a part of their radar. I literally had to contextualize this from all the way. I had to go back to be well, she started making music in South Africa. Still, no one knew what the fuck I was talking about. No one else identifies. There's a very, very small percentage of white girls from Europe or America or anywhere who first of all know who Tyla is, and then second of all identify with her and her music in terms of pop culture or following her. It's not a thing. Sabrina Carpenter, totally a thing. Everybody knows who that is. You see what I'm saying here? Like, this is not, all I'm saying is, dear other black women who are in America, like, why are we giving this person clout when she's not us? Ask yourself. Like, all I'm saying is maybe it's kind of time to, like, put her to rest in a sense. Like, not like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but maybe, like, maybe think of it as a time when, like, if there's a person who literally is coming out and saying, like, I don't identify with you, letting that be a thing and, like, letting that ride out. Like, they don't identify with us. We are so different and xenophobic. And if she, like, let's let her go participate in the Bollywood community and do things in their culture. Like, Bollywood is a real thing. They have, like, hundreds of movies. They have a whole subcategory on Netflix. Like, they have Gap ads that target people from Bollywood. What the fuck, though? Wow. I don't need to see it. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The other thing, I keep hearing people be like, oh, well, the black people don't want Ari Lennox or something to be the face of their thing either, or they don't want whoever. Like, I think the biggest problem that we're having is, like, representation. The wrong people keep getting platformed. Like, Sexy Red right now is probably, like, the most visible black girl in the country, and that's pretty fucking sad. Even during a time when we've got, like, Candace on, then we even have, like, Tyla, whatever she is. We have Halle Bailey. We have, like, a lot of other people who could be saying anything. Like, Sexy Red is the person with the platform. That in itself is a fucking problem. Like, first of all, let's get Sexy Red out, or just somewhere else, because that, like, I don't know. I'm sorry. That's, like, weird. But also, like, that doesn't mean, like, put Tyla in, because that's not it either. Ari Lennox to me is perfectly fine. She just seems kind of boring. The only thing I've heard her talk about is, like, getting an apartment and then cocoa butter, or shea butter or something. Great parts of the Black American experience. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not personally in a space. I don't know if I was ever in a space where I wanted to hear a song about cocoa butter, because that's just not what I was unpacking at the time. Like, I know what cocoa butter is. I like cocoa butter, shea butter, black, so all this shit. Like, I like it too, but, like, I don't want to hear a song. Like, that song was fucking everywhere. Shea butter, baby. Like, it was just everywhere. So I don't know if I would say, like, Ari Lennox doesn't have a place and people don't like. That song was great. People like the song. I don't know. I don't have an issue with, like, Ari Lennox and any of her looks. I don't have an issue with her hair. I don't have an issue with her face, her skin color, nothing. Like, Ari Lennox is perfectly fine. She's a perfectly normal looking girl. Like, I'm not seeing an issue with it. I don't know if I'd be like, Ari Lennox is the best thing we've ever had. She's the most gorgeous person in the world. I'm not saying any shit like that. So there's that. But also, like, Ari Lennox is perfectly fine. And Ari Lennox should be occupying space in the black community. That fucking makes sense. She's a black girl. The comments are weird. Like, the comments are just strange. Like, I don't even understand how people are coming this hard for, because at this point, yeah, it's like not even about the music. We're not talking about music anymore. We're talking about race, culture, and identity. And it's actually not even really about Tyla as an artist, because, like, her artistry has, like, left the building. I think that we have, like, gotten to a point where we've realized that, like, okay, Tyla can wear a dress on a red carpet. Okay, Tyla can give us a good performance. Okay, and Tyla can, like, give us a pop hit. Okay, but she's, like, we actually have a lot of girls who can do that. If that's not clear, like, there are girls, Ice Spice in, like, a year came out of nowhere and also gave everyone all of that. And I fucking cannot stand Ice Spice. And she did the exact same. Pink Pantheress did the same thing. So I'm not sure what the point at this I'm not gonna say Meg Thee Stallion is this like overnight person, but like we kind of have a lot of examples at this point in time of like girls who could wear a dress on the red carpet. And I'm talking about in the black sphere of things, the black girl sphere of things. Black girls who can do shit. So we don't like, I think that black girls need to guard spaces for black girls. That's the point. And it is kind of frustrating to see that not happening sometimes and feeling like there are too many spaces that are being occupied by everyone and that we don't have any sort of like ownership on those spaces, and that feels bad. Yeah.